Maya had made a promise to herself 6 months ago. No more dating apps. No more disappointing first dates. No more giving her heart to someone who would just break it. At 28, she was finally happy being single. Her job at the advertising company was going well. Her small apartment felt like home. And she had convinced herself that she didn't need anyone else to be complete. But here she was on a Friday night, standing outside a busy rooftop bar in the heart of the city because her best friend Lily had practically dragged her out of her apartment. "You can't stay home every weekend watching movies," Lily had said earlier that day. "Come on. It's just one night out with the girls. No pressure, just fun." The bar was crowded and loud. People laughed and talked around small tables under string lights that made everything look warm and magical. Maya ordered a drink and tried to enjoy herself, but she kept checking her phone, thinking about the comfortable pajamas waiting for her at home. That's when she noticed him. He was sitting at the bar, not really talking to anyone, just watching the crowd with curious eyes. He wasn't the type of guy Maya usually found attractive. Where she normally liked men in expensive suits, this guy wore a simple black shirt and jeans. His hair was a little messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. There was something about the way he held himself that caught her attention. He seemed comfortable being alone, not desperate for attention like so many other guys she'd met. Their eyes met across the room, and he smiled. Not the practiced smile she was used to from dating apps, but something genuine and a little shy. Maya felt her heart skip, which annoyed her. She wasn't supposed to be interested in anyone. "Who's that?" she asked Lily, trying to sound casual. "Oh, that's Alex. He works with me at the startup. He's really nice, but kind of quiet. Want me to introduce you?" Before Maya could say no, Lily was already walking toward him, pulling Maya along. Maya felt her cheeks get warm as they approached. "Alex, this is my friend Maya that I'm always talking about." "Maya, this is Alex." Alex stood up and extended his hand. His handshake was firm but gentle, and when he spoke, his voice was deeper than she expected. "Nice to finally meet you. Lily talks about you all the time. All good things, I hope." Maya replied, surprised by how nervous she sounded. "Definitely. She says you're the creative genius behind some of the best ad campaigns in the city." Maya laughed. "She exaggerates. But I do love my job." Lily excused herself to rejoin their other friends, leaving Maya and Alex alone at the bar. The conversation started simple enough: work, the weather, how crowded the bar was. But somehow, within minutes, they were talking about real things. Alex told her about his photography hobby, how he loved capturing moments when people thought no one was watching. Maya found herself telling him about her dream of starting her own creative agency someday, something she rarely shared with anyone. "What stops you?" Alex asked, genuinely interested. "Fear. I guess. Fear of failing. Fear of not being good enough." Maya was surprised by her honesty. She barely knew this man, yet she felt comfortable sharing her deepest worries. "I get that," Alex said. "I've been wanting to quit my day job and focus on photography full-time, but every time I think about it, I imagine all the ways it could go wrong." They talked about their families, their college experiences, their favorite places to travel. Maya learned that Alex had grown up in a small town, but always dreamed of living in a big city. He discovered that Maya had traveled to 12 countries, but still felt like she hadn't seen enough of the world. As the night went on, the bar got quieter. Their friends had moved to different spots. Some had gone home. But Maya and Alex remained at the bar, completely absorbed in their conversation. Maya kept thinking she should leave, that she was breaking her own rules about staying away from men. But every time Alex spoke, she wanted to hear more. "I can't believe how late it is," Maya said, checking her phone. It was almost 1 in the morning. "Time flies when you're actually enjoying yourself," Alex replied. "I haven't had a conversation like this in, well, maybe ever." Maya felt a flutter in her stomach. This was dangerous territory. This was exactly the kind of thing that had gotten her heart broken before. But looking at Alex, seeing the genuine interest in his eyes, feeling the easy connection. Between them, she found herself not caring about the danger. "I should probably get going," she said. But she made no move to leave. "Yeah, me too," Alex agreed, but he stayed right where he was. They stood outside the bar in the cool night air. The city was still alive around them, cars passing by, people walking home from their own nights out. Maya called for a cab, and they waited together on the sidewalk. "I had a really good time tonight," Alex said. "Me too. I wasn't even going to come out, but I'm glad Lily convinced me." The cab pulled up, and Maya looked at Alex. She could feel something shifting between them, something that scared and excited her at the same time. Before she could stop herself, the words tumbled out. "Do you want to come back to my place? Just for coffee or something? I mean, just for tonight." Alex's eyes widened slightly, and Maya immediately regretted asking. But then he smiled that genuine smile again. "I'd like that," he said quietly. As Maya gave the driver her address, she turned slightly away from Alex and whispered, so quietly she wasn't sure if he heard her, "Please ask me to stay." She wasn't even sure what she meant by it. Stay at the bar longer, stay in this moment, stay open to whatever this was becoming. All she knew was that for the first time in 6 months, she didn't want the night to end. She didn't want to go back to her safe, predictable life where no one could hurt her, but no one could make her feel this alive either. The cab ride to her apartment was filled with comfortable silence, their hands almost touching on the seat between them. Maya stared out the window at the city lights, her heart beating faster than it had in months. She was about to break every rule she'd made for herself, and for once, she didn't care about the consequences. Tomorrow she might regret this decision. Tomorrow she might remember why she'd sworn off men in the first place. But tonight, sitting next to Alex as they drove through the quiet city streets, she felt something she'd almost forgotten how to feel. Hope. Maya woke up slowly, confused by the warmth next to her and the smell of something cooking in her kitchen. For a moment, she forgot where she was, forgot what had happened the night before. Then it all came rushing back. Alex, the bar, the conversation that had lasted until 3 in the morning, the way he had looked at her when she asked him to stay. She could hear him moving around in her kitchen, the sound of plates clinking and coffee brewing. Maya lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how she felt. Part of her was happy, part of her was terrified, most of her was confused. This wasn't supposed to happen. She had rules now, simple rules that kept her safe. No getting attached, no letting anyone get too close, no morning afters that felt this comfortable. But here she was, in her own bed, listening to a man she barely knew making breakfast in her kitchen like it was the most natural thing in the world. Maya got up and put on her robe, running her fingers through her messy hair. She looked in the mirror and saw someone she didn't quite recognize. Her cheeks were still pink, her eyes brighter than they'd been in months. She looked like someone who had spent the night laughing and talking and feeling alive. When she walked into the kitchen, Alex was standing at her stove, flipping pancakes. He had put his shirt back on, but his hair was still messy from sleep. He looked up when he heard her footsteps and smiled. "Good morning. I hope you don't mind. I found some pancake mix in your cupboard and thought you might be hungry." Maya stood in the doorway, watching him. No one had cooked breakfast in her apartment since her last relationship ended. She had gotten used to coffee and toast, eaten alone while checking emails on her phone. "You didn't have to do that," she said. But she was smiling. "I wanted to. Besides, I make really good pancakes. It's basically my only cooking skill." They sat at her small dining table, eating pancakes and drinking coffee. The morning light coming through her window made everything look soft and golden. Alex told her about his morning routine, how he usually went for a run before work but had decided to skip it today. Maya found herself laughing at his stories about the people he saw during his runs. "There's this one woman who walks her cat on a leash every morning," Alex said. "The cat wears a little sweater and everything. I've been trying to get a good photo of them for weeks. You should ask her," Maya suggested. "Most people love having their pets photographed." "Maybe I will," Alex said, looking at her thoughtfully. You know, I'd love to show you some of my photos sometime. There's this spot by the waterfront where I go when I need to think. The light there in the evening is incredible. Maya nodded and smiled, but inside, warning bells were going off. This was how it started. The invitations to spend more time together, the making of future plans. The slow slide from casual to serious to heartbroken. After Alex left, promising to text her later, Maya sat alone in her kitchen, looking at the dishes they had used together. She could still smell his cologne on her robe. She could still hear his laugh echoing in her apartment. She picked up her phone and called Lily. "Tell me everything," Lily said before Maya could even say hello. "There's nothing to tell. We talked. We had coffee." He left to Maya. "Come on. I saw the way you two were looking at each other last night. There was definitely something there." Maya walked to her living room and sat on her couch, pulling a pillow into her lap. "That's the problem, Lily. There was something there. And you know how this always ends for me. Not every guy is like Ryan," Lily said gently. Ryan, Maya's last serious relationship. The guy who had told her he loved her and then disappeared for 3 days without explanation. The guy who had made her feel like she was the most important person in the world. Right up until the moment he decided she wasn't. "I know that," Maya said. "But how am I supposed to tell the difference? Ryan seemed perfect too, in the beginning. He brought me flowers. He remembered things I told him. He made me feel special. And then he turned out to be a jerk," Lily said. "But Alex isn't Ryan. Give him a chance." After they hung up, Maya spent the rest of the day trying to focus on anything other than Alex. She cleaned her apartment, did laundry, went grocery shopping. But everywhere she looked, she was reminded of the night before. The spot on the couch where they had sat talking. The coffee mug he had used. The way he had looked at her when she walked into the kitchen that morning. Her phone buzzed around. 6 o'clock. A text from Alex. It was a photo of the sunset over the waterfront, all orange and pink and purple, reflecting on the water. The message said, "Wish you were here to see this in person." Maya stared at the photo for a long time. It was beautiful. The kind of moment she would have loved to experience with someone. But instead of texting back right away, she set her phone down and walked to her bedroom. She looked at her bed, still unmade from the morning. She could picture Alex there, peaceful in sleep, his arm thrown over the pillow where her head had been. For a moment, she let herself imagine what it would be like if this became normal. Waking up next to someone who made her coffee, having someone to share sunsets with, building something real with someone who seemed to genuinely care about her thoughts and dreams. But then reality crept in. The voice in her head that reminded her of all the ways love could go wrong. The fear that Alex would eventually see her clearly and decide she wasn't worth the effort. The certainty that if she let herself fall for him, she would just end up hurt again. Maya picked up her phone and typed a simple response. Beautiful. She wanted to say more. She wanted to tell him she wished she was there too. She wanted to ask him about his day, about his photography, about a dozen other things. But those words felt too dangerous. They felt like the beginning of something she wasn't sure she was brave enough for. That night, Maya lay in her bed, in the same spot where Alex had slept just hours before. She could still feel the warmth of his presence, could still hear the sound of his steady breathing. Part of her wanted to text him again, to keep the conversation going. Part of her wanted to build walls so high that no one could ever hurt her again. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but all she could think about was the choice she was facing. She could play it safe, keep Alex at a distance, protect herself from disappointment, or she could take a risk, open her heart, and see where this unexpected connection might lead. For the first time in months, Maya fell asleep thinking about someone other than herself, and despite all her fears, despite all her reasons to be careful, she couldn't stop smiling. 3 weeks passed, and Maya found herself living into different worlds. There was her regular life, work meetings, grocery shopping, Sunday morning cleaning, and then there was the world. That included Alex. These two worlds were slowly starting to blend together, and that scared her more than she wanted to admit. It started with text messages. Alex would send her photos from his morning runs, a dog wearing a funny sweater, an old man feeding pigeons in the park. The way the morning light hit the windows of downtown buildings. Maya found herself looking forward to these messages, checking her phone more often than usual. She started sending him things too. Funny memes she found during boring work meetings. Photos of the terrible coffee in her office break room. Screenshots of ridiculous client requests that made her laugh. It felt natural, easy, like having a friend who understood her sense of humor. Their first official coffee date happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Maya had a break between meetings, and Alex suggested they meet at a small cafe near her office. She almost canceled 3 times, making up excuses in her head about why it was a bad idea. But when she saw him sitting by the window, reading a book and looking completely relaxed, her nervousness melted away. "What are you reading?" she asked, sliding into the seat across from him. "It's about street photography," Alex said, closing the book. "I'm trying to get better at capturing real moments instead of posed ones." They talked about books, about art, about the people walking by outside the cafe window. Alex had a way of noticing details that Maya missed, the way a woman touched her necklace when she was nervous, how a businessman's shoulders relaxed the moment he got off his phone call. "You see people differently than most," Maya observed. "Maybe that's why I like photography," Alex replied. "Everyone has a story. Most of the time, we're too busy to notice." Their second date was dinner at a small Italian restaurant. Maya had suggested it because it was quiet, not the kind of place where you had to shout over loud music. They shared pasta and talked about their families. Alex told her about growing up with 2 older sisters who still treated him like he was 12 years old. Maya shared stories about her parents, who had been married for 30 years and still held hands when they walked. "That's what I want someday," Alex said quietly. "That kind of partnership. Someone who still likes me after seeing all my annoying habits." Maya's heart skipped, but she kept her voice light. "What annoying habits? I leave coffee cups everywhere. I take forever to make decisions about what to watch on TV. I talk to my plants." "You talk to your plants? They're good listeners," Alex said with a grin. "Better than most people, actually." Maya laughed, and for a moment, she forgot to be scared. This was what she had been missing. Someone who could make her laugh without trying too hard. Someone who shared the small, silly parts of himself without worrying about looking perfect. But as the weeks went on, Maya found herself pulling back whenever things felt too comfortable. When Alex suggested they spend a Saturday together visiting a photography exhibit, Maya claimed she had to help her sister move. When he invited her to meet his friends at a gallery opening, she said her boss needed her to work late. The lies came easily, but they left her feeling hollow. She would spend those evenings alone in her apartment, wondering what Alex was doing, whether he was having fun without her, whether he was starting to realize that she wasn't worth the effort. Alex never complained about her cancellations. He would just say maybe next time and change the subject. But Maya could see something shift in his texts, a slight formality that hadn't been there before. She was creating distance, and it was working exactly as she intended. The problem was, she hated how it felt. The breaking point came when Maya actually did have to work late one Friday night. She was alone in the office, struggling with a difficult project, feeling frustrated and tired. Without thinking, she picked up her phone and called Alex. "Hey," his voice was warm, surprised. "How's the late night going?" "Terrible," Maya admitted. "I'm stuck on this campaign, and nothing is working. I feel like my brain stopped functioning around 10. Want some company? I could bring coffee and sit quietly while you work." Maya almost said yes. The offer was so tempting. Someone to share the long night with, someone who cared enough to offer. But then she remembered her rules, her promises to herself about staying independent. "Thanks, but I should probably just push through it myself," she said. "Okay," Alex replied. But she could hear the disappointment in his voice. "Text me when you get home safe." After they hung up, Maya sat in her empty office building, surrounded by papers and empty coffee cups, and realized she was being an idiot. Here was someone offering exactly what she needed: support without pressure, company without demands, and she was turning it down because she was afraid. But knowing she was being ridiculous didn't make it easier to change. Fear had become a habit, and habits were hard to break. The next week, Alex brought her soup when she mentioned having a cold. He didn't stay long. Just dropped it off with a smile and a feel better soon. It was her favorite soup from the deli, near her apartment, something she had mentioned in passing weeks ago. The fact that he remembered such a small detail made her chest tight with emotion. Maya sat in her apartment that evening, eating the soup and feeling something crack open inside her heart. Alex was being patient with her walls, gentle with her fears, kind in ways that made her old defenses seem silly and outdated. She picked up her phone and scrolled through their text conversation. Weeks of careful responses from her, enthusiastic. Messages from him that slowly became more reserved as she continued to keep her distance. She could see the exact moment when he had started protecting himself too, matching her energy instead of leading with his own. Maya realized that in trying to protect herself from getting hurt, she was hurting someone who had done nothing wrong. Alex wasn't Ryan. He wasn't the guy who had made promises he couldn't keep or who had treated her feelings like they didn't matter. Alex was just a good person who had shown interest in her, and she was punishing him for someone else's mistakes. That night, Maya made a decision. She was tired of being afraid, tired of letting her past dictate her future, tired of pushing away someone who had shown her nothing but kindness and respect. She didn't know if it was too late to fix things with Alex, but she was finally ready to try. Maya spent 3 days staring at her phone, trying to figure out what to say to Alex. Every message she typed seemed wrong, too casual, too serious, too desperate, too cold. She would write something, delete it, write something else, and delete. That's a dot. She had been avoiding his calls, sending quick texts about being busy with work. It wasn't entirely a lie. She was busy, but the real reason was that she couldn't handle hearing the confusion in his voice. She knew she was hurting him, and that knowledge was eating away at her. The worst part was what had triggered this latest round of panic. On Monday morning, while scrolling through social media with her coffee, Maya had seen a post that stopped. Her cold, Ryan, her ex-boyfriend, was engaged. The same Ryan who had told her he wasn't ready for commitment. The same Ryan who had said he needed space to figure out his life. There he was, smiling in a photo with a woman Maya didn't recognize, announcing their engagement with the caption, "Found my forever person." Maya had stared at that photo for way too long, analyzing every detail. The woman was pretty, successful looking, confident, everything Maya had tried to be when she was with Ryan. Apparently, it just hadn't been enough. All the old feelings came rushing back. The doubt, the insecurity, the certainty that she was somehow fundamentally unlovable. If Ryan could find his forever person so easily after leaving her, what did that say about her? What did that say about her worth as a partner? These thoughts spiraled in her mind for days. She found herself comparing Alex to Ryan, looking for signs that he would eventually leave too. The way Alex sometimes took a while to respond to texts. The fact that he hadn't pushed harder when she canceled their plans. Maybe he was already getting tired of her games. Maybe he was already looking for someone easier to love. By Thursday evening, Maya was a mess. She sat in her apartment, wearing the same clothes she'd had on for 2 days, surrounded by takeout containers and empty tissues. She hadn't been sleeping well, and every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ryan's engagement photo. That's when Alex showed up at her door. Maya heard the knock and froze. She wasn't expecting anyone, and she looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed. Her eyes were red from crying, and she was pretty sure she had saw stains on her shirt. "Maya?" Alex's voice came through the door. "I know you're probably busy, but I was worried about you. You haven't been yourself lately." Maya looked through the peephole and saw Alex standing in the hallway, holding a container from her favorite Thai restaurant and looking genuinely concerned. Her heart broke a little more. Here was this good, kind man, worried about her well-being, and she had been treating him like he was the enemy. She opened the door slowly, trying to use her body to block his view of the disaster that was her apartment. "Hey," she said quietly, "I wasn't expecting you." Alex's eyes swept over her face, taking in her red eyes and tired expression. His concern deepened. "What's wrong?" he asked gently. "And don't say nothing. I can see that something's upset you." Maya felt tears starting again, which embarrassed her. She had spent 3 days crying, and she thought she was done. "I'm fine," she lied. "Just tired from work." "Maya," Alex's voice was soft but firm, "we've been talking for weeks. I know what you look like when you're tired from work, and this isn't it. This looks like something hurt you." The kindness in his voice was what finally broke her. Maya started crying again, and before she could stop herself, the whole story came tumbling out. Ryan's engagement, her fears about not being good enough, her terror that Alex would eventually leave her too. The way she had been pushing him away because she was scared of getting too attached. Alex listened without interrupting, occasionally reaching out to touch her arm or hand her another tissue. When she finally stopped talking, exhausted from letting everything out, he was quiet for a long moment. "Can I tell you something?" he said finally. "I broke up with someone about a year ago. Her name was Jessica, and I thought I was going to marry her. We were together for 2 years, and I had this whole plan for how I was going to propose." Maya looked up at him, surprised. Alex had never mentioned a serious relationship before. "What happened?" she asked. "She told me my photography was a waste of time, said I needed to grow up and focus on real career goals. She wanted me to sell all my camera equipment and use the money for a vacation." Alex's voice was calm, but Maya could hear the old hurt underneath. "I realized that she didn't love who I actually was. She loved who she thought I could become. If I changed everything about myself." Maya felt a pang of recognition. Ryan had done something similar, always suggesting ways she could be better, more successful, more like the women he worked with. "I'm sorry," she said. "That must have been really hard." It was. "And for months afterward, I was convinced that no one would ever accept me as I am, that I would have to choose between my dreams and finding love." Alex looked at her directly. "But then I met you, and you didn't try to change me. You asked about my photography. You seemed genuinely interested in the things that matter to me." Maya felt her throat tighten. "But what if I'm not enough? What if you realize you want someone who's not so scared all the time?" Alex moved closer to her, on the couch. "Maya, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to have all your fears figured out. I'm just asking you to stop running away from us." "I don't know how," Maya whispered. "Every time things get good, I start waiting for them to go bad. It's like I can't help myself." "Then let me help you," Alex said. "We don't have to figure everything out tonight. We don't have to make any big promises or decisions. But can you just try to trust that I'm here because I want to be? Not because I'm settling for you, not because I'm waiting for someone better to come along, but because I genuinely like who you are." Maya looked at Alex, really looked at him. His hair was still messy from the wind outside. His shirt had a small stain that he probably didn't know about. He wasn't perfect either, but he was real, and he was here, and he was asking her to trust him. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I'm scared too," Alex said. "But maybe we can be scared together instead of letting fear keep us apart." For the first time in days, Maya felt like she could breathe properly. The weight of keeping everything inside, of trying to protect herself from hurt, had been exhausting. Letting Alex in, even just a little, felt like setting down a heavy bag she'd been carrying for too long. "The Thai food is probably cold now," Maya said, looking at the container Alex had brought. "We can heat it up," Alex replied with a small smile. "I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time since seeing Ryan's engagement photo, Maya believed that might actually be true. 6 months later, Maya stood in Alex's small apartment, watching him pace nervously around the living room. Tonight was the opening of his first photography exhibition, something he had been working toward for years. The walls were covered with his photographs, black and white images of people in quiet moments, street scenes that captured the beauty in ordinary life, portraits that seemed to reveal the soul of each subject. Maya had watched Alex prepare for this night for weeks. She had helped him choose which photos to display, listened to him practice his artist's statement over and over. and held him when the doubt crept in during late-night conversations about whether his work was good enough. What if no one comes? Alex asked for the 10th time, adjusting the frame of a photograph that was already perfectly straight. People will come, Maya said, walking over to him. And even if they don't, your work is beautiful. That doesn't change just because of how many people see it. Alex stopped pacing and looked at her. How did I get so lucky to have you in my life? Maya felt that familiar flutter of panic, the old instinct to deflect or pull away when someone expressed too much feeling. But she had been practicing letting those moments pass without acting on them. Instead, she stepped closer to Alex and straightened his tie. You didn't get lucky, she said. You were patient with a very scared woman who didn't know how to let good things happen to her. The past 6 months hadn't been easy. After that night when Alex found her crying in her apartment, Maya had made a promise to herself to try harder, to stop running away every time things felt real. But changing old habits was harder than she had expected. There were still moments when her fear took over, like when Alex suggested they go away for a weekend together, and Maya's first instinct was to panic about what that meant for their relationship, or when he started leaving a toothbrush at her apartment, and she spent 3 days overthinking whether he was moving too fast. But the difference now was that she talked to Alex about these fears instead of just pulling away. She would tell him when she felt scared, and he would listen without trying to fix her or convince her that her feelings were wrong. He would just hold her hand and remind her that they could take things at whatever pace felt right. Alex had his own moments of doubt, too. Sometimes he would get quiet and distant, usually when work stress was high or when he was struggling with his photography. Maya learned to recognize these moods and give him space without taking it personally. She discovered that loving someone meant accepting their difficult moments along with their good ones. They had introduced each other to their friends and families. Maya's parents loved Alex, especially after he spent an entire dinner asking her father about his garden and actually listening to the answers. Alex's sisters had immediately adopted Maya, texting her directly to plan surprise parties and asking her opinion on their love lives. I never thought I'd have this, Maya had told Lily one afternoon over coffee, someone who feels like home. What changed your mind? Lily asked. Maya thought about it for a moment. I realized that the risk of losing him was starting to feel smaller than the risk of never really having him at all. Now, standing in Alex's apartment before his big night, Maya felt proud of how far they had both come. She had learned to recognize the difference between protecting herself and sabotaging herself. Alex had learned to be direct about his needs, instead of hoping she would guess what he was thinking. They still had work to do. Maya still sometimes caught herself preparing for things to go wrong, and Alex still sometimes retreated into his art when emotions felt overwhelming. But they had figured out how to talk about these things, how to support each other through difficult moments instead of letting them drive them apart. I need to tell you something, Maya said, taking Alex's hands in hers. Alex immediately looked concerned. What is it? Do you remember that first night, when I said just one night, but then whispered for you to ask me to stay? Of course, Alex said. I heard you. By the way, I wasn't sure if you meant for me too. Maya smiled. I wasn't talking just about that night. I think I was asking you to ask me to stay in general, to stop running away from things that felt good, to try building something real instead of protecting myself from imaginary hurt. Alex's expression softened, and now Maya took a deep breath. She had been thinking about this conversation for weeks, waiting for the right moment. Now I'm not asking you to convince me to stay. I'm choosing to stay. I'm choosing us. Not just for tonight or until one of us gets scared, but really choosing. Choosing to build a life with you. Alex's eyes filled with tears. Are you sure? Because I'm all in, Maya. I have been for months. But I need to know that you're not going to change your mind. When things get difficult, I can't promise that I'll never get scared, Maya said honestly. But I can promise that when I do get scared, I'll talk to you about it instead of just disappearing. I can promise that I'll choose us even when it's hard. Alex pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. I love you, he said into her hair. I know we haven't said that yet, but I love you. Not just the easy parts of you, but all of you. The scared parts, the messy parts, the parts that think too much and worry about everything. I love you too, Maya whispered back. I think I have. For a while, but I was too afraid to admit it. They held each other in the middle of Alex's apartment, surrounded by his photographs of real moments between real people. Maya thought about how she had become one of those people now, someone who had learned to stay present in her own life instead of always preparing for it to end. An hour later, they were at the gallery, surrounded by friends and strangers who had come to see Alex's work. Maya watched him talk about his photographs, explaining his process and inspiration with passion and confidence. When someone asked about the woman in several of his more recent photos, Alex looked across the room at Maya and smiled. That's my girlfriend, he said simply. She's taught me a lot about capturing authentic moments. Maya felt her cheeks warm, but instead of feeling embarrassed or overwhelmed, she felt proud. Proud of Alex for following his dreams, proud of herself for learning to stay, and proud of what they had built together. As the evening wound down and the last visitors left the gallery, Maya and Alex stood together looking at his photographs. On the wall, each image told a story about connection, about people choosing to be vulnerable with each other, about the beauty that existed in ordinary moments when someone took the time to really see it. Just one more night, Alex asked, echoing Maya's words from that first evening at the bar. Maya looked at him, this man who had been patient with her fears and celebrated her growth, who had shown her that love didn't have to mean losing herself every night, she said, for as long as you'll have me. And this time, she didn't whisper.